Hi, my physio friends. This is Afreen Yusuf Pathan, and I'm here to share my little knowledge and experience on sports, like how we can be efficient and beneficial in treating any case related to or associated with a sport, or how we can treat most of the cases, be it sport or otherwise, following through this sports rehabilitation protocol. Being from a sports background, as in my husband is Yusuf Pathan is a cricketer, and one more cricketer in my house, my brother-in-law Irfan Pathan. Like I can see them live, how they come in and come out of few injuries, and how few physiotherapy approaches have helped them and not helped them. So I would like to share my little insight about sports, and how sports rehabilitation actually work. Like I see my patients in three different categories, like those who are professional sports players, and leisure sports players, and these people who are just into any physical activity, be it sports, walking, or just training, gymming, anything maybe. So the professional sports players, they go through a lot of mental as well as physical demand. So but in their setup, they do get proper physical training, they get dietary support and assessment, and they get a psychological support as well, they get monetary support as well. So they are more positive and responsive to your treatment which you offer them. And there are other sports professional sports players also who do not get these basic rights. So you should actually inquire with them whenever you're dealing with such patients. You should know that are they actually getting proper physical training or dietary support or anything else. Then you can read the mindset of the patient or player. Then you have this leisure sports player, who those who play sports as their hobby. They play it for like clubs, or even for school they play, or who play any sport regularly on like as a hobby. So these are the people who who need your guidance even during the non-injury phases, because they are not very well aware. Actually, they don't know the importance of physical training, warm-ups and cool downs and all that, because some of them are still like they think that just rubbing iodex on their muscles will warm their body. Some of them thinks that in summer you do not need to do warm-up. So just address these misconceptions, and see that they get to know the importance of physical training, warm-ups, cool downs, diet and all that. And this third category, people who are just into any fitness related activity, like gymming, training, dancing, or just maybe a walk or anything. These kind of people, they just get into anything, any physical activity without any prior consultation or preparation. So they most of the time usually comes to you with acute injuries which hamper their way to coming back to their physical activity which they were involved in. Okay, now coming to my approach, like sports rehabilitation approach, I believe in approaching most of my patients in this way only, be it sports or non-sports. You know why? Because it it promises me to get faster, better and more accurate results which are longer lasting, because I feel like when we approach a sports person, we pay great attention to the cause and the pattern with which he got injured. We know his posture and general body posture, foot posture, his balance, cardiovascular strength, everything we take into consideration. So I believe why not be the same for all? So like it is again you to decide depending upon the case or the type of patient you get. So once the patient comes to you, you do the thorough assessment. Like, and for the assessment, you should know it is very important, apart from other assessments, to for you to know that what kind of injury, what type of sports he's playing, has he come to you. Like, what type of sports he's into, contact sports, non-contact sports, aerobic, anaerobic, mix, or what kind of injury, is it direct injury and indirect injury, is it acute or chronic, or stress injuries like stress fracture, etc. And you should know what stage has he come to you with. Like, is he here for a conservative management, or is he here post-surgical? Like if it is a post-surgical rehab, you should know how many days it has been and how many weeks it has been. It's better to have a word with the surgeon, the one who has performed the surgery, before you start with the treatment protocol of such patients who are like post rehab kind of a case. Once your local assessment of that injury of that part is done, or then you come to the most important assessment, that is the postural assessment of his general body, like in static as well as in dynamic. Like in static, like in sitting and standing, just observe him and see if there is any faulty posture and correct it. How show him corrective exercises and explain him its relation with, if you can relate its relation with the injury or he has come to you with, or how this faulty posture can lead him to another future injury in future. So just explain him the importance of postural correction exercises you're going to offer him. Only then he's going to perform well in that. So like for example, how forward head posture affects the muscle length of your posterior chain of muscles, and how it affects the muscle power and strength with which it performs. So it's like that. So it's a, and posture is a full, like a body is like a chain. So even a forward head posture uh, goes on to another faulty posture once you go down, once you go distally. So that's how it leads to one problem to the other. Okay, so postural analysis, the most important thing you can do for your patient in static as well as in dynamic. For dynamic, just ask the patient to mimic any of his posture, any of his sports activity, and see if you can, if any correction is required in his doing that activity. Like this is the most important step, as this allows for early recovery and prevention of any other future injury. So once you are addressing his postural, his faulty posture, you are making sure that that patient will not come to you with another future injury, or he will recover better with the current treatment you are offering him for the injury which he has come to you with. Like then once once you do his general body postural analysis, the most important comes next, is the foot posture alignment examination. So you just see if there is any foot posture abnormality, flat foot, high arch foot, pronated, supinated, inverted, everted, whatever. So and then see to it if you can relate this postural abnormality of his foot to his current injury or problem. Like for example, if a patient is coming to you with runner's knee or patellofemoral pain, it is most of the time associated with flat foot. And if the flat foot is by birth, you cannot do anything about it. But if it is not by birth, strengthen his tibialis anterior muscle along with his quadriceps. So that is how we're gonna help him, like as a whole, not just doing the symptomatic treatment. So and then along with, if he has come with by birth a flat foot, offer him and suggest him good arch support shoes or insoles, and you can also refer him to a good orthotist around your area. Then after assessment, posture, foot posture, you come to his general body measurements, body fat, muscle mass, then give a dietary advice accordingly if you find him overweight, underweight, or like that. And then like you should also know the level of activity he's doing. So if he's doing a lot of physical activity, then like of suggest him to have good diet full of carbs and protein and fat as well. Explain them the importance of carbohydrates, and how it is very important for them to recover and make them less susceptible to injuries. So sports players who eat a lot of carbs during their physical training period or ongoing match period, they are less prone to injuries. Also, you can also refer them to a good sports nutritionist or a dietitian for any further dietary guidelines and advices. Then you come to start with his pain management. Like apart from icing and hot water fermentation, I would like to discuss here manual therapy. Like I practice Mulligan MWM, which worked most of the times for me, and then I also practice fascia releasing. Like for example, if a patient comes to you with a tender point over his tendon, like where the muscle is attaching to the bone, if there is a pinpoint pain over there, which is of course, make sure it is not grade 3 strain or something like that. If it is like that, then you should just release the muscle bulk of that same tendon, go behind and release the muscle bulk of that muscle, and then you will see there will be quite a decrease in pain because once you release the muscle bulk, you deloading that one point, and you can also release a little bit over that point as well, depending upon the case. You can also try taping, like in kinesio taping, apart from muscle taping. For pain, like even muscle taping, you can apply for pain, but other than that, this repositional taping or ligament taping and fascia taping, you can check them out on Google or YouTube if you haven't done the kinesio taping workshop. Then along with the pain management going parallelly, we should start strengthening the muscles, of course, and uh, it should be a strengthening should be, make sure the muscle strengthening you are offering is graduated, as in you just find out his 1 rm and 10 rm, then proceed gradually, and then keep taking his 10 rm and 1 rm every 3-4 days maybe, and then increase with the weight. So graduate it so that you get proper and real strengthening of that particular muscle which you're targeting. Also, just don't strengthen the muscles around that particular joint or that particular area. Also cover the proximal as well as the distal muscles, so that it helps in deloading that particular affected joint. For example, in case of back pain, strengthening of glutes and hams helps in deloading the back. Okay, so this is how you go about strengthening. Along with other treatments, you can also try the NKT approach with your patient. NKT is neurokinetic therapy. That is to correct the neural pathway that may be disturbed or altered because of pain, which is either long lasting or in any other nature. If it is the neural pathway is affected, you just need to correct that with neurokinetic therapy. Neurokinetic therapy, like for example, if a patient is coming to you with already strong muscles, so you get maybe confused that why is he getting pain, then most probably his neural pathway may be affected, which you can easily correct by, like, you just need to check the strength, isometric strength of all the muscles around that area. And if you check the isometric strength, that you can do only if you know the proper origin and insertion of all the muscles around, and then only you would know the exact position in which you have to check its isometric strength. Like in that you get that NKT book, which you can order online. In that they have mentioned proper origin, insertion of all our muscles, and the isometric strengthening positioning of all the muscles. So once you do the isometric testing of all the muscles around, you realize that some of the muscles are overacting and some of them are underacting. If you come across underacting muscles, within 30 to 60 seconds, you have to release the overacting muscle, either by stretching or with your hand or with your fascia releasing tool or anything you have. With these overacting muscles are usually either the antagonist of that underacting muscle, or maybe sometimes even synergist of that underacting muscle. Then you have to reactivate the underacting muscle. This is how you correct the neural pathway then and there, and then you give like the homework to your patient to do it just maybe once or twice a day, and see to it he doesn't make the muscle go into fatigue. because it is just to correct the neural pathway, not to make the muscle exercise. Okay. I also believe the fascia releasing techniques are very important uh, in case of sports players, because it improves the muscle performance as it frees the fascia covering, and you can see the result instantly, which is of course long lasting. And even when the patient has no issues, and if he's coming to you before his performance, even if you just release his important group of muscles which he's gonna mostly use in his sports, you can help him improve his performance. Okay. And then taping. In taping, there are two types of muscle taping: facilitating and inhibitory taping. The facilitating ones are for weak muscles. It's origin to insertion. When you come across a weak muscle, if you're taping it, you have to tape it from its origin to insertion. That is facilitating. And inhibitory taping is for any muscle which is spasmodic, in pain, it has trigger points or tender points. You just tape it in the opposite direction, that is insertion to origin. Also, I would like to mention that maybe I believe that we should avoid giving inhibitory taping to any of the shoulder muscles, especially the rotator cuff muscles, because these shoulder joint has very less articular surface. It mostly depends upon the muscles around, especially the rotator cuff muscles. So once if you do inhibitory taping to any of the rotator cuff muscle, then it causes impingement, because that muscle is not acting, it is inhibited by our tape. So it gives rise to impingement and gives rise to pain and worsening. One more approach that I incur in the treatment program of sports players are these Mulligan. Of course, it has that biomechanical correction thing where you reposition or where you correct that minute shift or reposition a joint surface over the other. It may work wonders and give immediate pain relief, so that you get more time to address the patient as a whole, and 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 prepare him for the sports he play, like in a better manner. Like, so Mulligan has been proved very effective in my case whenever I've used it. So, like, again, one thing I would like to really mention is, do not go by the appearance of the patient or by the history of the patient. Then he says, "Oh, I work 3 to 4 times a week. I work out 3 to 4 times a day." I'm sorry, that I work out 3 to 4 days a week. I work out 2 hours a day. All that. Don't go by that. They may, of course, they are doing that, but you have to check the strength of all the muscles by yourself, because they may be strengthening or doing weight exercises, but they are most of the time not strengthening few important group of muscles, or that one specific muscle in a particular group, or maybe experiencing muscle imbalance between agonist and antagonist, and from with right side to left side. So check it yourself. Okay, don't go by the history, and don't keep that thing in your mind. Oh, they are already strong, their muscles are already strong, so no need to strengthen them, they're already doing their exercises in their physical training program. No, you have to check it yourself and find out. You will come across something. Also, address and assess their cardiovascular strength, and inquire about that, like depending upon their sports, whether they are playing aerobic, anaerobic, or mixed type of a sports, suggest them the efficient way of improving their cardiovascular strength, because as we know, decreased cardiovascular strength make them more susceptible to injuries because of less oxygenation and all that. Then work on their balance also. Work on their ability to balance themselves. Grade the balance exercises from static to dynamic. This improvement in balance decreases their chances of injury and improves their confidence and performance. Also, one thing which is very important in any sports is agility. So agility is their ability to change direction with speed. So include few agility exercises also in your treatment protocol. For example, like 3 run test, which they do in cricket mostly, and many more. Like, Now, I would like to elaborate on one example of my brother-in-law, Irfan Pathan, to make you understand the importance of core activation exercises and also the importance of proper diagnostic tools and our skills to make proper diagnosis and plan an efficient treatment protocol for a particular case. So, in case of Irfan Pathan, he is a fast bowler that led him to suffer stress fractures of stress fac- of L3, L4, L5, and S1 vertebral bodies and disc prolapses at two levels. Okay, these injuries were gradual, of course, and their diagnosis came quite late. Reasons could be missed assessments or judgment, or even the MRI scans were not that efficient. Okay, after being exhausted with the poor outcome, he went to Australia on being called by his physio friend over there. There, after thorough assessment, he underwent an MRI scan, the basic one and the functional one as well. Because the MRI machines were of higher Tesla values, the real diagnosis came with five stress fractures and disc prolapses at two levels. Okay, there his treatment started, that too only with exercises. Here also, he was doing all kind of exercises. Here also, in India also, I'm talking about all the muscles around the trunk here as well. But the difference was that there his core muscles were actually activated through exercises. There he was made to do all the best of core activation exercises, many of them, many sets of them that helped him the most. Now, what is core? Core is the midsection of the body, of the like the muscles which are basically a part of it is the our lower latissimus dorsi, the obliques, internal and external obliques, transverse abdominis, and they are the deep seated muscles which have a very direct access to the spine and are closely connected with the spinal segments and the superficial abdominal muscles as well. So they are basically the connecting tissue between the superficial abdominal muscles and spinal segments. Okay, so once you activate these core muscles, you are actually offering the patient segmental stabilization of his lumbar spine. So they are basically in your body, if you see, from the navel area, which corresponds to L2 and L3, till the pubic symphysis, just above pubic symphysis, which corresponds to L5 S1. So, and you should make sure that you do the correct form of core activation exercises. Correct form, I mean, is it's very difficult to uh, uh, difficult difficult to comprehend the exact feeling of that core muscles being activated. If I can explain you, if somebody just tries to punch you, you suddenly feel a duck. So if you palpate your abdominal muscles and then cough or sneeze, you can see some of the fibers coming popping out. If you can feel that, and if you can hold that for few seconds and then graduating to 1 or 2 minutes, then you are sorted. Holding that duck, like that muscle pop, that is actually the core activation. You do other lower limb activities, upper limb exercises, so that that duck or that popped out muscle shouldn't lose itself. Okay, so you have to maintain that, and maintaining that you have to do the leg exercises or balance exercises. This is how you work on your core muscles. For example, if a patient who comes to you saying that I can do plank for 1 minute, 2 minutes, still they're coming to you with back pain. Why is that? If their muscles, if their trunk muscles are so strong that they can do plank for 1 or 2 minutes, why are they coming with back pain? That is not the case. When they do plank, it's not necessary that they are activating their core muscles only. It's not so easy for the patient also to comprehend, or for even sometimes for us to comprehend how to activate those core muscles. And then coming back to the Irfan Pathan case, he was much better with those core activation exercises, and he got back to playing without pain which he had to bear for 2 years. He was still playing for these 2 years, but with the help of painkillers and other non-reacting treatments which he was going through. So this is how his got issues got addressed and solved. Now, few more points I would like to mention is we should also inquire with the player how many days a week is he doing his physical training, and ask him about the rest he is doing to ensure proper recovery, because there should be a proper balance between the strengthening and the demand they put on their body. Also, then ask them about any recent history of any systemic illness like malaria, dengue, or any systemic infection, because these things are most of the times ignored as post recovery weakness, post infection. Once you recover from an infection, your body goes through a kind of a weakness. So if we ignore that, we will worsen the case. It's very common for all of us to just do not ask about it, and if we ignore that or not even know about it, we can worsen the condition unknowingly even after working so hard with the patient. Okay, here I would like to end my presentation. Hope you all liked it, and thank you so much for your patience. Thank you. Bye bye.